Well, greetings, everyone, and welcome to a very special online event today. It's called Experience the Wisdom of Wicca. Explore the divinity of nature through the magic, healing, and spiritual power of witchcraft. My name is Stephen Dinan. I'm the founder and president of the Shift Network, and I'm really blessed to be with you here today because I'm excited to go deeper into a tradition that's sometimes been seen in somewhat, marginal lights, but is actually really at the heart of how do we heal our relationship with the earth, each other, to reclaim the feminine. It's a really beautiful lineage if we understand it at a deep level. And we're going to get to do so with a woman who's been really at the forefront of the modern revival of understanding and deepening of the practice of witchcraft. Her name is Phyllis Curott. She's a Wicca, a Wiccan priestess, a founder and elder priestess of the Temple of Ara, an author, and an attorney. So, Phyllis, thank you so much for joining us here today.
It really is a joy to be with you, truly.
Great. Well, I look forward to diving in. We got a lot to cover. And I also want to let everyone know up front, we have a brand new program with Phyllis called Witchcraft as a Spiritual Path that we're really excited about. And we'll share more about towards the end of the hour that's launching soon. So, Phyllis, I'd love for you to begin a bit of your story of like really reclaiming witchcraft as a practice for yourself, understanding a little bit why that's been so important in your life, and then we can dive into some of what witchcraft and witch are really all about.
It's the last place in the world. Witchcraft is the last place in the world that I could ever have imagined myself being. It wasn't in my high school or my college or my law school yearbook. I think I had all the same sort of strange misconceptions that most people had. Bewitched, or Bell Book and Candle kind of intrigued me. Veronica Lake. There were always good witches. The Wizard of Oz, they were always sort of there in the background. But we all grew up with these stereotypes, and certainly I had them too. But my journey began in law school. I had what I came to understand was a shamanic break. At the time, it just was very odd. I had missed the psychedelic 60s. I was too young for that. I was living in New York, not California. I'd practiced yoga when I was a teenager in high school. But I was an intellectual. I was a social justice advocate. That's why I went to law school. And I was headed towards a social justice career as an attorney. And I started having dreams that came true and a sense of precognition, of anticipation that someone would say something and then indeed it would come out of their mouths. And I had absolutely no framework for it, absolutely none. So, of course, being a hyper intellectual, I went off to the library and found Fritjof Capra and all those guys and started reading quantum physics. So I'm reading tort law, and then I'm reading quantum physics, and then I'm reading criminal law, and then I'm reading quantum physics. And I began to understand that there's more to reality than I had been taught. And it kind of explained a little bit of this opening of perception that was happening. But I got no explanation as to why it was happening. But it was wonderful. Door had opened, magic was happening. There was a sense of the numinous, of the consciousness of creation, of a presence, and a capacity to be present with that magic. I graduated, I went off to Washington, D.C. to work with Ralph Nader. And the magic sort of stopped. I stopped having those dreams that came true. I stopped having that sense of more. Came back to New York to work with another foundation and was longing for the magic to start again. And it did begin. There were cosmic breadcrumbs that were being dropped all along the way for me. And I think that everyone gets tapped on the shoulder, gets a call, gets a summoning. I think there's a witch, a wise one in all of us. Most people don't pay attention. I did. And it led me into a friendship with a woman who was fabulous in all respects, smart, was managing a rock and roll band, fabulous. Great job, interesting person. She called herself a witch. And I sort of chose to overlook it because everything else was so terrific. One day she took me to have my tarot cards read, which also very strange. At the end of the reading, which was very impressive, this woman, warm, a few years older than I was, Italian American, lovely, invited me to come to a gathering of women. She said, I think you'll find what you're looking for there. She'd asked me what my question was, and at the beginning, and I had said, where does the path lie? And she said, it lies within. And without hesitation, I said, yeah, but how do I get there? Because my entire orientation was make the world a better place and people's lives will be better, which is true. But I wouldn't say that I had much of an inner life. And it had started, but then I lost track of it. At the end, she said, and I was very impressed by the reading that she did. She had remarkable insights and wisdom. She invited me to this group. She said, I think you'll find what you're looking for there. I thanked her. I left. I told my friend. She flipped. She did a backflip on 19th Street in New York City. She said, that never happens. You should go. You should go. It's amazing. They're hidden and they've invited you and you should go. It's like, they're witches. Are you crazy? They're witches. Thanks, but I can't. A few months later, I was wandering around the Metropolitan Museum of Art, where I used to go a lot when I was in law school. I went to NYU. And when everything started to shift and the ground underneath my feet kind of opened and the cosmos introduced itself and I was really lost, I used to go a lot. And I was wandering, what was next? Where was I going to go with my career, et cetera, et cetera. And I wandered out into a new wing. It was the sculpture wing of the garden, of the museum. It was a beautiful garden. And I'm wandering through, and I'm very preoccupied with very mundane stuff. And all of a sudden, seated in front of me is this figure, this woman who had appeared half a dozen times in the previous few years. She had appeared as the universe was opening itself to me and opening my mind to creation and to mystery and to magic. And she never interacted with me. She just would appear and then sort of disappear into this sort of blaze of light. I'd wake up and there she was. She was seated in front of me. It was a statue. And the room got very light. I got very hot. And there's a sort of a blank period there. I don't remember. But I remember the guard like settling me into a chair and I was sweating and beside myself. I couldn't look at her. I was staring at her toes and there was a little plaque right there, a little bronze plaque, and it said, the Libyan Sibyl. I spent the next hour sort of working my way up her figure. It was exactly as she had appeared. In my dream, she was holding a book in her left hand. And in the statue, she was holding a rolled up sheaf of papers. And in the dream, she had a light at her throat. And in the statue, it was a 6-pointed star, and there was a crown on her head. Her hair was plaited in cornrows. And I knew that Sybil was something magical, but I really had no idea what. I went home when the museum closed at the end of the day. I was like, what has just happened to me? I looked it up in the Oxford English Dictionary. I was living in a little tiny studio apartment on the Upper West Side of New York, and I had the abridged version, so the print was infinite. I'm dating myself, right? It was infinitesimal. I had to pull out the magnifying glass and put on my glasses, and I looked up the word Sybil, and it said, ancient prophetess, comma, witch. And I called my friend, and I said, do you think should I go? And she said, absolutely, you should go. And I went. And the room was full of women, all different ages and races and shapes and sizes. And each week it got a little smaller because they invited fewer and fewer women back. And when there were about 8 of us, they announced, well, this is going to be the coven. And I heard the word, I was about to run out the door, I was like, all right, okay, I'll stay. Because the magic was returning. I didn't understand fully at the time what they were doing, but I could feel the energy in the room. They would cast circle, they would call the goddesses, they would create an altar filled with statues of goddesses from all over the world, from all cultures and all points in history. They would honor the four directions. They would chant. Sometimes they would dance. And the magic was returning. And I worked with them for 3.5 years. And as soon as I recognized, I simultaneously was working the method of Dr. Michael Horner in the Brooklyn group, which was the first group, drumming group, to come out of his teaching at the New School when he was still there. And I recognized that all the stereotypes, there were no green-faced, warded old hags, there was no killing of cats. People had them, they adored them, all the stereotypes that I had grown up with, all the negative nonsense that, fill our heads and that stand between us, and especially for women, our spiritual power, our wisdom, and our ancestral wisdom traditions evaporated. And I came out of the broom closet. Within a year, I came out of the broom closet. And when I completed my training, which was 3.5 years, I began teaching. And I've been teaching ever since. And as an attorney, I fought cases that established the legal rights of witches and their rights to perform legally binding marriages, to retain custody of their children, to hold public rites and rituals in parks that had been made available to other faith traditions. And I began working with the Parliament of the World's Religions to increase our visibility and our respect. And I wrote about how an Ivy League lawyer with a social justice background fighting organized crime and trade unions ends up being a witch. It was the most unlikely journey one could imagine. And precisely the path I was supposed to walk. And it had its reason and its place. And what I discovered is that there really is a witch in everyone, in men and women, and that the wisdom of which, you don't have to be a witch to benefit from the wisdom of witches, because it's a universal wisdom. It's the wisdom of the divine embodied by creation. It's a wisdom that all Indigenous peoples share. It also really resonated for me because it was a spiritual practice. Nobody asked me to believe in the goddess or to believe in the green man, or to believe that nature embodies the divine. Instead, we began practicing, and in the practices, the blindfold came off, and I gained access to realms of spirit, and I began to experience how profoundly spirit is embodied by creation, by the natural world, and by all of us. And that's why I teach. That's why I teach. I teach the practices so that people they don't have to believe, they can experience.
Well, thank you for sharing your journey at more depth, because I think it's really important for this liberation of this important wisdom lineage. And I kind of see it through the lens of culture wars that go way back, as you had this kind of culture war that became like, Wicca became like this sort of like, oh, the other that we're going to vilify. And it actually has deeper root systems than Judeo-Christianity. And maybe share a little bit about that kind of more, indigenous root systems in Europe of this lineage. And so people understand a little bit of that context when we then start talking about the specific practices.
Absolutely. When you discover the roots, it liberates you from the negative stereotype. It's really quite extraordinary. So the word Wicca, W-I-C-C-E, Wicca, is a 5,500-year-old word. It goes back to the Proto-Indo-European, and it meant a wise one. It was the feminine spelling, and W-I-C-C-A, Wicca, was the masculine. And it meant wise one, seer of the sacred. It was the shamanism of our Euro-Indigenous ancestors. And the wisdom tradition moved gradually westward across Europe. You see it, if you look at linguistics, you will find it moving mostly across Northern Europe. And finally, around 500 AD, into the British Isles, to England, where with the Saxons, who become the Anglo-Saxons, where it takes root and becomes the indigenous wisdom tradition in England. And there's a certain blending with Celtic and Nordic, etc., because all of those peoples were migrating and moving and interacting. So it's the indigenous wisdom tradition of our ancestors. And when you go and you seek it, you will find the remnants of it. You will find the sacred sites, the stone circles, the labyrinths that were constructed, the dolmens that remain, the caves, Newgrange, Stonehenge are some of the more famous all over Ireland. You'll find it in Germany and France and Holland even. You find the remnants of our ancestral traditions written into the landscape. We lost most of our indigenous wisdom because what we did to other indigenous traditions during the period of colonization, we did first to ourselves. And so over the course of 1,000 years, 1,500 years, you had the displacement and ultimately the very violent displacement of this pre-Christian, pre-Abrahamic indigenous wisdom tradition, which has so much in common with other indigenous wisdom traditions, by the Abrahamic faiths. And around 1400, with the end of the Inquisition against the Jews, you have the beginning of the witch craze. It starts little in the 1300s, but really in the 1400s, the end of the 1400s, and it runs for almost 400 years or so, 300, 400 years into the mid 1800s. You find that there were Sami shamans who are still being persecuted and hung if you were found to have a drum or engaging in the practices in the Nordic circle as late as the 1850s, the 1860s. So by 1600, the witch craze has really burned through Europe. And there are differing opinions on the number of people who were persecuted, tortured, murdered, and it was gruesome. But it was at least 100,000. And if you take the overall population size, that was quite a bit. There were entire villages that lost all of their women. The cats were also killed. The drums were burned. Music was banned. And it was also during this period that women lost what remained of their legal rights. They went from being able to own property to inherit, which a lot of them had following the Crusades, when men had left and women were left in charge of businesses and towns and estates. And it was sort of part of the effort to take the property rights back. They were no longer allowed to own, to inherit. They couldn't have businesses. They weren't allowed to receive an education. If you were an upper class woman, you weren't allowed to leave the house. They essentially became chattel. They were the property of their husbands, their brothers, their husbands. And the struggle that women have for equal rights, which continues to this day, please, we should have a woman president in a few months, but the struggle that women have today, they're still earning 78 cents on the dollar. When I was first a lawyer, it was 76 cents on the dollar. Now it's like 78 cents. The struggle to have credit, to have equal rights, to be able to run for office and to be taken seriously. All of the struggles that women have, to raise your hand in class, to be able to walk to your car at night, at 11 o'clock at night, you know, if you're leaving work late or you're leaving a group of friends who've had dinner and you have to go to the parking lot by yourself. All of the struggles that women face and that our culture faces in the loss of the feminine and the loss of the divine feminine and the loss of the feminine within men, right? Their intuition, their sensuality, their joyfulness, their freedom, the definition of masculinity in patriarchal terms. All of that was the consequence of the witch craze that went on for so many hundreds of years. It's one reason that I went public in 1982. I was like, I'm taking back this word. It was this sort of ferocious declaration of resistance, you know, of reclaiming women's power, especially their spiritual power, their spiritual wisdom, the role that they used to play as wise ones, as shamans, as healers, as midwives of babies, but also midwives of souls. into realms of spirit, and into a world that is sacred. And it's now the fastest growing spirituality in America.
Oh,
So
that's I didn't know that.
the world needs our witches, and
Yeah.
they're hearing the call. We're all hearing it, I think.
What a great historical overview. That was really illuminating. And so let's go into the modern practice of witchcraft. Since some of this has had to be kind of resurrected in different ways, and some of the lineages were not even able to continue. And so, what do you really see as the sort of foundational practices and understandings that are important to understand to start to explore this as a spiritual practice?
Absolutely. So much of our wisdom was fractured, but the fact is that we have the same spiritual teacher as our ancestors, and we have many of the same essential tools and techniques, the spiritual practices that they used. And that's one of the reasons that I have found it such a powerful and empowering spiritual path, right? Is that it is a practice. So, for example, the casting of circle. The casting of circle is used by most indigenous traditions in one form or another, that reverence, worship takes place within a circle. So it's the creation of sacred space, and it's simultaneously a practice that enables you to see that the space that you're in is already sacred. It's a circle, and the circle is one of the most ancient symbols of the divine feminine. It's a container, the cauldron that's always associated with the witch, and that goes back into, you find it with the goddess Caradhrin's cauldron. It's a symbol of the womb. It's a symbol of the earth itself. And the experience of being in circle is the experience of being reconnected to the goddess, to the divine feminine. You feel the energy moving around, especially when you do it with other people. And it's this marvelous embodiment, right, that we share. So you can do it yourself. I do it every morning. It is a part of my practice where I honor the four directions, and I essentially cast a circle. And it connects me to spirit. It creates a container into which spirit can come and arrive and be present with me, and I can be present with it in whatever form it comes. And it's a container in which I can do my spiritual work. It provides a boundary within which I can work with the energies that I am bringing and that are coming to me. And it works. It really works. It's one of the most extraordinary things. And we've been doing it online for a number of years now because of the pandemic. It turned out to be one of those odd blessings that came out of the cloud of contagion. And I was skeptical when we first started working online because I'd always worked in person with other people. And it was always this remarkable experience. We were talking about those sort of first time encounters that you have and how powerful they are before. Sorry, folks, you missed some of the good stuff. But when you have people in circle for the first time, and there are a number of ways of doing it, but my favorite way is to do it hand to hand, one at a time, and people make eye contact and they look to the person next to them. Hand to hand, I cast this circle. And they take hands, and it goes all the way around until the last person connects, usually with me. And then we move the energy around, and people feel it. They feel the tingling, they feel the energy moving through their hearts, down their arms, and around the circle, and then coming up and into their hearts, and their hearts just open, and the electricity moves, and people are overwhelmed. Because so much of our spirituality has been sort of in our heads and our ideas and just believing. And suddenly you're not believing, you're experiencing, you're feeling it in your body, you're feeling it in your heart, you're feeling it in a room with other people. I was skeptical that we could sort of capture that online. And we have, because we focus on what's in people's hearts. And their hearts open and they share and the energy starts to move. We have people working together from all over the world. And the other thing I love about this work is that you're always learning. And so as soon as you get into a circle, you are opened to the blessings and the gifts and the experiences that all these other people are bringing to the cauldron, right? The onion and the turnip and the and the rice and suddenly you have something so much more than any one of us could do by ourselves.
Mm.
And that's one of the great there's spiritual teachings in all of these experiences.
Mm.
And that's the earth itself then becomes our teacher, right? That a lot of our work, honoring the four directions, going out into nature, working with the elements, when we humble ourselves and we ask what we need to know, we get the answers.
Mm.
They are happy that we are returning to relationship, and they're more than willing to teach us. So.
Mm. Well, it's a beautiful description of just the healing power of the circular mode of spiritual practice and worship and joining together in that way. I wonder if you could dive into a little bit. So much of the popular conception of witchcraft has to do with magic and spells, and just help understand that from a deeper perspective, and in terms of the art of working with energy and intention, and just build on that.
Yeah. And of course, I'm thinking about all the other things about being encircled that I didn't explain that I so want to, but we'll get to that another time. You cannot talk about witches, right, without talking about magic. And a lot of people come to witchcraft initially, especially very young folks, with this sort of misconception that it's the use of your will or your sort of mind to manipulate or control supernatural forces. It's a very patriarchal idea. It's kind of left over from Abrahamic magic, or Moses throws his staff down and it turns into a snake, and it's a bigger snake than the staves of the Pharaoh. It's not about power over, it's about communion. It's not about control, it's about communion. It's not about domination, it's about communion. Magic is a sensitivity, a sensibility. It's a gift, a capacity that we all have, and it's happening all the time. We're just not paying attention to it, right? Those cosmic breadcrumbs. It's the flow of the divine. And when we open ourselves to it, and that's what some of the practices are about, getting the blindfold off, opening the heart, connecting ourselves through our connection to the elements, through the natural world. Magic begins to flow into us. The first thing magic changes is you. You learn to work with it through the practices, through your training. You shape it. You give it form. That's what a spell is. It's a kind of spiritual artistry. You shape it into healing. You shape it into a longing. You shape it into your purpose. It is a divine energy that already resides within you. And that is happening all the time in the natural world all around you. That is the nature of spirit that surrounds you. And through the practices, magic opens you, you open, magic awakens within you. They entwine with each other, you shape it, and you return it to creation, to the world, into realms of spirit, but into the world around you for healing, for love, for blessings, as an offering that brings joy into your life, but also makes the world a better place. And it's powerful and potent, and it's happening to all of us really all the time. Every time I suppose one of the, maybe the best way to say it is, it's hard to define it, right? But you know it when you experience it, right? Everybody knows, everybody, and that's the word that's used even by people who have no idea about witchcraft or spirituality or anything else. They finished the Democratic Convention and there were all these starry-eyed commentators on all the channels except Fox sitting around, and the first words out of their mouth was, they would sort of staring at each other, they were lit up, and they were all saying, and I was going channel to channel to see this, and they were all like, that was magical. It was the energy of joy. It was the collective energy, right? And it was that energy flowing through everyone who was participating, and all of it connected to this sense of the goodness of the human heart
Mm.
and our capacity to work together to make the world a better place for all beings. That's the essence of nature's magic. This was given to me in an epiphany a number of years ago, and I have spent quite a long time in apprenticeship to it. Because when you get a download, you know, especially if you're still a rationalist like I am, you need to test it all, make sure it's true. And it turns out a number of years after my download, there were a number of biologists in the field of biomimicry. So they study nature to learn from the natural world how to solve the problems that human beings have. Because when we solve our problems, we tend to do it in a very narrow way, right? Heat, beat, and repeat. And we don't look at the consequences of the solutions that we come up with for our problems. Right? We burn fossil fuels to heat our house. We don't pay attention to the creation of global warming. Right? We need wood for paper to build houses. We chop down forests. We don't look at the consequences of chopping down forests. We dump our garbage in the ocean. We do what's useful to us, get rid of it. We don't look at the consequences of our actions. Nature's magic. And the biologists called it nature's magic because they couldn't explain it. It's right. You know it when you see it. There's an organizing principle at the heart of creation. There's a divine template in all living creatures. My dog that you met earlier, Foxy, the little Cairn Terrier, who knows how to be a Cairn Terrier. You release her into the yard, she'll dig up every mole that she can find, and she'll chase the squirrels into the trees. She knows her job, and she does it. The oak tree in the center of my yard knows exactly how to be an oak tree. The mushrooms that pop up after it rains like crazy know exactly what their job is, and the mycelium web underground, they all know how to be exactly who they are in ways that make them healthy and happy. And the magic part is that when they do what's encoded in this divine template in their DNA, they make the world better for all life. Collectively, they create healthy air and water and soil and temperature and all the things that everything needs to live well, happily, healthy, joyfully.
Hmm.
Joyfully. Only human beings have forgotten. And this is the wisdom of indigenous peoples. This is the wisdom of our indigenous ancestors. This is the wisdom of witches. And this is the reason that witches' wisdom is needed.
Mm. Love it. Really beautifully described, and just that aligning with the deeper unfolding of life and the joyful energy that comes with that alignment. Very, very beautiful understanding of magic and how to work with nature. So I know that we wanted to spend a little time today going into a deeper experiential to give
Yeah,
people a bit of flavor of how you work. And so now would be a great time to do that. You want to lead us in something?
I'd love to. So the best way to do this practice would be to do it outside. So it's utterly simple. And once you've got it, you can take it with you, and it will be more powerful by working outside in the natural world, because nature is just waiting for us to get out there and start working with it. It is our greatest spiritual teacher, and it welcomes us when we come to it. So we'll do it as a kind of a guided visualization, very simple. And we're going to go to our inner altar, carrying the blessings of each of the four directions, the four elements of air, of fire, of water, and of earth beneath our feet. I will guide you. You'll bring each element into your heart, which is where the inner altar lies, the place where spirit and world meet, where they are one. And then I will lead you in a very simple chanting practice. She changes everything she touches, and everything she touches changes. And that energy, I'll ask you to chant with me. Nobody will hear you except you. You'll hear me. And we'll chant together. It's a joyful practice that raises energy. And that energy will flow very naturally into a change that you want to bring about. So before we begin, just take a moment and think about one thing that you are willing to work to change, that you will commit yourself to in small, simple, easy, normal, natural steps. We call it acting in accord. Something that you long to bring into your life, to change in your life, in yourself, to heal, to help, to transform, whether it's emotional or physical, love, a project you're working on, a goal you have, an ambition, a desire, something that you know will make your life healthy and happy and bring you joy. Just take a few deep breaths now, slow. Take 3 slow, even, easy, natural breaths. Focus on the thing you'd like to change. And focus on the feeling that follows that change. The peace, the well-being, the sense of wonder, the gratitude, the joyfulness. And allow that feeling to open your heart. And now, eyes closed, just stretch your left arm out, palm up, and wiggle your fingers. Out of your fingertips, small feathers extend into the air. Stir the air gently. Feel the breeze that rouses as you move your fingers. Hear the birds singing. Hear the children laughing. Hear the music playing, the song of creation. Feel the breeze blowing. And now bring your feathered fingertips to your heart. And inhale as your hand rests upon your heart. Feel the blessings of the breath of life opening your heart. Let your heart receive it. Feel the lightness and the clarity of your mind. Take a deep breath in. A feather now rests upon the inner altar of your heart. Now reach upward. Towards the sun, towards the fire in the sky. Feel the fire in your fingertips. Feel the energy of spirit flowing down through your arm into your heart. Feel the heat of the sun at the height of the sky on a summer day, making all things upon Mother Earth grow. Now bring your arm down and your hand again to your heart. And feel your heart open to receive the blessings of spirit, the energy of spirit, filling your heart with fire, with power, and with joy. and see the flame that burns upon the inner altar of your heart. Now, with your right hand, reach outward, palm up, cup your hand. You are reaching into the deep and flowing oceans that surround us, into the rivers that flow, into the rains that fall. Fill the palm of your hand, the cup of your hand, with flowing water. Feel it flowing down your arm into your heart, opening your heart. Feel the dream power of water. Feel the flow of your feelings. Feel the love flowing from the waters, the womb of Mother Earth, and bring your cupped hand and the waters that it holds to your heart and pour the blessings of the waters of love into your heart. Feel your heart overflowing with love and see the radiant shell filled with water that sits upon the inner altar of your heart. Now with your right hand, reach downward. Feel the roots growing from your fingertips, connecting you to Mother Earth. Feel her energy. Feel her power. Feel her nourishment. Feel her support. Feel her strength. Feel her healing blessings that are always being offered to you. Feel her love for you flowing upward through your fingers, through your hand, through your arm. Now bring the energy of Mother Earth up into your open heart and see upon the inner altar of your heart a rosy red apple, an ear of corn, a stalk of wheat, a medicine bundle full of healing herbs and plants. Your altar is the place where spirit and world meet. The world that is always around you, the spirit that always surrounds you, the two entwined, meeting in you, embodied by you, blessing you with clarity, with energy, with love, and with healing. At this inner altar, activated by all of the blessings within which you live enmeshed, where nature's magic beats and lives, and heals and nourishes and creates beauty. Envision the change that you seek in yourself and in the world, and join me in this simple chant. It's on the screen in front of you if you need to read it. She changes everything she touches, and everything she touches changes. She changes everything she touches, and everything she touches changes. She changes everything she touches, and everything she touches changes. She changes everything she touches, and everything she touches changes. She changes everything she touches, and everything she touches changes. She changes everything she touches, and everything she touches changes. She changes everything she touches, and everything she touches changes. She changes everything she touches, and everything she touches changes. She changes everything she touches, and everything she touches changes. She changes everything she touches, and everything she touches changes. She changes everything she touches, and everything she touches changes. She changes everything she touches, and everything she touches changes. She changes everything she touches, and everything she touches changes. She changes everything she touches, and everything she touches changes. She changes everything she touches, and everything she touches changes. Let the energy and the joy spiral outward from your heart into the world around you, into spirit that surrounds you. Let the energy of joy and hope and life and spirit make its magic. The first thing that magic changes is you.
Well, thank you. What a
And
beautiful and joyful practice that was that you led us in. And I can really see the magic of consciously connecting these different threads to the environment and ourself, and just to, and then to express that with song and joyful expression. So organic, so natural, and so really uplifting, really beautiful.
thank you. And joyful and practical. And the last thing, since that was everybody's first spell, is to act in accord. And so we don't wait for the universe to do for us what we can do for ourselves. So we want to get out there and apply ourselves to making the changes that we want to bring into our lives, to act in accord. And we'll find that when we take action, the universe is working with us, spirit is working with us, working through us.
Mm.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. It was a
Yeah,
joy for
and
me to do it.
brings you full circle right back to the social justice commitments early on, is that the witchcraft is a beautiful way to empower your action with that
Yes.
divine fullness behind it, so that it's coming not from polarization, but it's about becoming, helping uplift everyone. Really
Yes.
beautiful.
Yes.
Well, let's talk more explicitly about your upcoming program, since I think this is a really exciting and powerful and profound way for people to enter into this practice if they're new to it, or if they've been around for a
Yes.
while, then they can go deeper. So Phyllis has agreed to teach a brand new program for Shift, and we're very excited about it. It's called Witchcraft as a Spiritual Path. Awaken your divine magic through the earth-based practices and rituals of the Wicca. So you can find it at, the URL is witcheswisdomcourse.com. That's with ES, witcheswisdomcourse.com. It's a 7-week program. There are no prerequisites. It's really, if you feel curious to explore, if you feel called, if you get a dream, you get inner guidance, if you want to go and see what this path can offer you and heal some of the historical, stuff that's got accumulated around this very shamanic, indigenous, feminine centric path that has really gotten pushed off into the margins of Western culture, but really is at the heart of what we've inherited. And so, Phyllis, I'd love for you to share some of your intentions for this program, and then I'll read out the module titles, and you give us a little preview of what's coming at each.
It's such a rich spiritual path. It's one reason that it's held my devotion for 40 years. And so, one of the things I've learned over the years is that you don't have to be a witch to practice and to benefit from the practices, because they are so universal, so deeply shamanic, and so simple and easy to do. They're joyful, they're liberating, they heal the witch wound, they restore our power, they restore our connection to the divine that's embodied by the natural world, which is such a gift right now. We are being called home. She needs her children to come home. And so the practices are about that. They reconnect us to the magic within ourselves and the natural magic that we are a part of and a necessary part of. And we'll start with healing the witch wound. We'll do a purification and a cleansing practice. And you'll be taken to meet the witch. We'll combine shamanic journeying and drumming with a guided visualization, which is very powerful. When you put those two practices together, the experience that people have is remarkable. And so you'll get to meet the witch and receive her gratitude and also a blessing for the work that we'll do together.
Module 1, claiming the wisdom of the witch and ancestral traditions to heal the witch wound and create a life of wonder and well-being. You just described. Module 2, create sacred space through the casting circle to protect, honor, and cultivate the life force within you and others.
Yeah, so we've talked quite a bit actually about that. So we're going to explore the meaning, the symbolism, the magic, the power, the divine feminine energies of working in circle. And people will learn how to cast circle in a number of ways. And we will cast circle together, which I hope is going to be just magical, very magical. In fact, I know it will be. We've been doing it long enough now. I know it's going to be marvelous for people. And they will take away from that class the ability to cast circle and to work with it as a very powerful meditation and energy technique.
Module 3, discover nature as your spiritual teacher and guide to wholeness, connection, and home.
Well, this, I could teach 18 modules on this one, but people will learn a fundamental technique for connecting to air, fire, water, and earth. They'll learn how to invite each of the elements into a relationship, how to encounter them in the natural world, how to begin to experience nature's magic, what it means, and how to recognize lost parts of ourselves that the natural world offers us, and how to really effectively experience your enmeshment in the web of life for clarity and energy and for flow and cleansing and emotional healing and for nourishment and blessings and strength and support, all the things that we need now, and to give back, to make offerings, to learn how to give back. We're really focused on the experience of nature's magic, and I can't wait. I can't wait.
Right. Module 4, engage spirit through the goddess Isis and the moon to receive guidance, healing, and nourishment.
So each of these are sort of steps in fundamental practice. So there's you always begin with purification, and you cast a circle, then you honor the four directions and connect with nature, with the natural world and its spiritual form. And then the next step always in witches' work is the invocation of the divine. And we're going to work with divine feminine energies because they're what's been absent for centuries, millennia. So we'll work with the feminine. We work also with the masculine, and we'll get to that. But our focus is going to be on the goddess Isis, the first goddess who called me, the queen of magic, the wise one, with one of the most ancient divine feminine invocations in human culture. Very powerful. And I'll teach about the moon and the phases of the moon and the correspondence of the phases of the moon to women's lives and women's spiritual powers. And people will learn how to time your magic in harmony, working with the rhythms of the moon, which is very powerful. It's a mirror in which women especially, but men as well, can look and begin to recognize the sacred in themselves, and also begin to have greater trust and confidence in their intuition and their instincts. Lost skills.
Module 5, celebrate the Shabbat of Samhain to harness the energy of the seasons, reset, seek new visions, and honor the ancestors.
I love you said Shabbat because that's my mother's side of my tradition. Um, we say Sabbath, same word, it means a holy day. One of the wonderful survivals of our indigenous traditions is what we call the Wheel of the Year. And it's 8 holidays. They occur every 6 weeks. They are the holy days. And we celebrate the turning of the wheel of the year, the seasonal wisdom that nature shares with us as it changes. And through ritual and celebration, you learn to bring mind, body, and spirit into alignment with these great energy cycles. And they help you live in a sort of more peaceful, more accomplished, right? So you're not trying to plant in the wintertime. You're using the natural energies to do the kind of sacred spiritual work that is most naturally effective during that period. So we are going to celebrate the Sabbath of Samhain because it turns out that our timing of this class coincides almost precisely. And it's the beginning of the Celtic New Year when the veil between the worlds is the thinnest and we're able to most easily meet with our ancestors. And so we'll be honoring them, which is so appropriate because we are doing a teaching, reviving all of our ancestral wisdom.
Awesome. Module 6, experience magic as the presence of spirit through grounding and chanting energy techniques.
So once the divine has arrived, we are really giving you like little appetizers on all of this. One of the most wonderful parts of the work for me is the joyfulness of it, is the working with energy. And so some of that is receptive, where we open and receive the presence of the divine, but also there's the raising of energy, like we did today with chanting and dancing. And so we're going to work with 2 energy practices for you to open to receive the sense of the divine, which you'll be ready for because we will have done that already with the invocations of Isis and with the Sabbath work. And then we're really going to introduce you to working with energy, experiencing, bringing in, and raising it up from within yourself, which is an essential magical practice, which we will use in
Module 7, discover the spirituality and wonder of spell casting. Learn the steps and cast a spell to reclaim your inner power and sovereignty.
Exactly. So by this point, people will have had many, I hope, really powerful, transformative, joyful experiences with the magic that's awakening within them and with the awakening of their sensitivity to the magic that's all around them. And so we will now begin to shape that energy and we will direct it with a spell. Spells are spiritual practice. They're not about manipulation. They're about co-creation. We are working with this divine energy. And like the spiritual artists that we're all meant to be, we shape it and we offer it to the world like nature's magic to make our lives healthier, happier, more joyful, and as an offering that makes the world a better place because we're here. And so we'll conclude our 7 weeks together with a spell focused on your health, your well-being, and your sense of wonder, and leave you, I hope, better off than you were at the beginning, and make the world better off as well for the journey that we've all been on together and the skills that you've learned and that you'll be able to apply.
Well, what a great program, and what a blessing to be able to take this from you. So I'll share a little bit more about it, described in detail at the page witcheswisdomcourse.com. So you get not only the 7 90-minute live sessions with Phyllis, which is going to include time to do ceremony together, to have cute questions and answers, to really explore key ideas, as well as practice together. You also get recordings, both video and audio, of every session, as well as word-for-word transcripts to study and highlight. There's weekly exercises and practices for home. There's a Facebook community that I'm sure will get really buzzy and fun because it's a great way to share with people across the world. There's also a small group time to connect with other participants. And on the page, you'll see a number of extra bonuses that are designed to enhance your journey as well. There's a video dialogue with Phyllis and Womancraft publisher Lucy Pierce called Magic, Creativity, and Nature. There's a PDF excerpt from Phyllis's Book of Shadows called The Dark Side of the Moon. It's a modern woman's journey into the wisdom of witchcraft and the magic of the goddess. There's also a special bonus that I know you're very excited about, so that we'll have you share a little bit more about that, Phyllis, about the goddess summoning conversation between you and Dr. Jean Shinoda Bolin. You want to share more
Yes,
about that?
I would love to. She is a wonder. We have been traveling for many years in parallel tracks. Her book, Goddesses in Every Woman, as a Jungian analyst, was incredibly important. It reached women who would never have otherwise found their way to witchcraft because of all those negative stereotypes that I have spent so many years banishing, but which will, take a movement of women to change and men as well. But it was, in fact, the goddess that led Jean to her discovery of witches and witchcraft and this ancient ancestral indigenous wisdom tradition. And it was through witchcraft that I discovered the goddess. So the conversation is very heartfelt. She talks very much about, I asked her how she came upon her crafting of the circle, because it's an essential part of the practice that she shares with other women. And it's somewhat different. I mean, when you are in a circle with women, there are these shared truths. You can sit in a circle with men and women in a business meeting, and the goddess is present. But we talked about that, and she shared with me how she discovered it at Girl Scout camp. So it was very personally meaningful to me that our paths have crossed a number of years back at the Parliament of the World's Religions, and we've become friends. And at this stage in her life where she is reflecting on the life that she's led in the presence of the goddess, completing really her first autobiography, that she took the time to talk to me and for us to discover how the goddess had led us on this
Hmm.
remarkable journey, each of us in parallel and finally interconnected paths. I know she's been a wise teacher to so many women, and the practice of circle has been so important. But I think that she would agree that having created circle, it's time for women to start to fill the circle. And I
Nice.
kind of feel like witchcraft is the tradition that offers women the tools to start to fill that circle.
What do we do now that we have the circle? So
That's
I
right.
love Jean. She's definitely a wise elder in our movement.
Yeah.
I also want to bring attention. There's one special bonus that we haven't discussed. It's on the page. It's your extra encouragement to sign up right away. It's called Experience the Magic of the Full Moon. It's a guided audio visualization and shamanic drumming track from Phyllis. You want to share more about that special bonus folks get if they sign up right away by the end of today?
Yeah. I the reason that I'm on this path is because nobody asked me to believe anything. They offered me practices, and the practices worked, and the experiences that I had changed my life. They changed me. And so the best way to share what it is to share a practice, as we did today. And we're sharing one of my favorite, which is a full moon meditation that's accompanied by shamanic drumming, 200 beats per minute. And some people have trouble journeying, and some people have trouble with guided visualizations. But I have found over so many years that when you put the two of them together, the power of each is magnified. And so it's an opportunity for people to sample what we'll be doing in class and to have I hope, a very powerful experience of the magic of the moon and how it reflects to them their own inner magic, their own inner divine energy, the muse for men and the goddess for women. And
Hmm.
for those in between, the divine in whatever form it expresses itself to you.
Hmm. Well, what a great extra bonus, and that's a great reason to sign up right away. And really take the time now to go to the page at Witch's Wisdom course and tune in. And if you get the sense to move forward, then you get that extra bonus when you sign up today. So it's clearly going to be an awesome program, so much magic, and kept the investment really accessible for this. It's 3 payments of $128, or save 10% when you pay in full with one payment of $349. The course is going to start October 2nd and run Wednesdays at 1 Pacific, 4 Eastern. But even if you can't make the live times, you can still get the full value with the recordings and the transcripts in the community as well. And I particularly encourage you to read through some of the testimonials that about the level of kindness, authenticity, wisdom, strength, light, joy that Phyllis brings to her teaching work. So a lot of those are on the page, and so you just so you know, you're in really good hands. So it's going to be a blessing for everybody who chooses to move forward. And Phyllis, I don't know if there's anything else that's still on your heart you want to share with folks who are considering joining you.
Um, oh, so much more to say and not enough time to say it. Just that if you're watching, maybe this is your cosmic breadcrumb, and I hope you gobble it up. Nothing gives me greater joy. This is my purpose, than sharing this with people. And Mother Earth is calling us home. She needs her children to return. We're the only creatures that are living out of sync with nature's magic, and the Earth is suffering because we have been out of sync. And so, witch's wisdom is the wisdom of the divine embodied by creation. The practices are the way that we reconnect ourselves and find our way home. I'm delighted to have the opportunity to share this through the Shift platform. I'm really looking forward to teaching it. I'm really, really looking forward to working with your community. I hope you'll show up, Stephen. And I would love to work with everybody who's watching. And
Well,
I'm really
thank you.
looking forward to it.
Well, thank you for the sincerity of the invitation. And I really love what you're offering. And I really feel like it's good medicine for us all, regardless of what lineage or tradition we practice in. It's an important wisdom lineage that's been too often put to the side. And it's important for our reconnection with ourselves, our planet, our communities, and spirit. So thank
Can I
you.
add one?
Oh,
Can I add one thing? Because you
yeah.
really said it, but I want to say it even more clearly. You don't have to be a witch. Just like you don't have to be Buddhist to meditate or Hindu to practice yoga, you do not have to be a witch to to practice and to benefit. That's one of the most wonderful things about it. You don't have to be a witch. I mean, I think there's a wise one in everyone, just
Yes.
waiting to get out. But
If you're
but
not quite ready to claim your inner witch, which is already there, then you don't have to have claimed
no, no,
it.
nope, you absolutely don't. Come along for the ride.
Great.
It's a
Awesome.
wonderful broom.
Super fun. Well, Phyllis, it's been a delight and to host you here today. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you all for joining. And if you want to go forward, warmly welcome to do so. Again, it's at witcheswisdomcourse.com, and you get that special bonus, Experience the Magic of the Full Moon, guided audio visualization, shamanic drumming, if you sign up by midnight tonight. So thank you so much.
Thank you.